guess it is. Good. Now let's see if I can breathe.
And then...
Okay. Hey everyone, welcome to the new media show. My name is Todd Cochran. Of course, I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Rob Greenlee. Rob, how you doing?
I'm doing terrific, Todd. It's great to be back doing the show.
So we have absolutely, unequivocally, nothing to talk about. I was, I'd gotten my craw up over the last couple of days on a couple of things. And then something dropped this afternoon. It was like, whoa. Should we tackle the first big topic?
Which one do you want to do it? I'm
not
sure which one you're referring to.
Well, I thought the major story of the day, but maybe you've got something else. Which one were you thinking about?
Well, there's Breaker.
Yeah, that's true.
And then there's what's going on with Megaphone.
Yeah. So I was thinking about Megaphone to begin with. So
right. Okay.
But I guess we could quickly go over Breaker real quick, and it actually could lead to a whole conversation. So we'll have to be careful how deep we dig.
Yeah.
But we'll save the Megaphone conversation here for a few minutes. So those of you that are tuning in for that, just hang on. So Twitter bought Breaker.
Yeah. Well, it's full circle for Twitter to some degree, right?
Yeah, they started off as Odeo, a podcasting platform, pivoted to Twitter, and now they bought it isn't really a podcast hosting company per se. They do that, but
they never really captured very many shows to host. But it's just another example, and I think we're going through this consolidation, and smaller companies and platforms are, contracting. We've been through this a few times before, Todd, haven't we?
Yeah, we have.
Seeing listening platforms come and go, and it's just these days they get gobbled up by bigger companies. Mm-hmm. It's kind of what's happening more and more these days. Yeah.
And then, so the play, everyone thinks what's going on here is that Twitter Spaces, whatever that's going to be, I hadn't been paying too much attention to it, but they think that team is going to be working on the Twitter Spaces, which is being designed to compete with Clubhouse. And so, Rob, I got an invite from Mike Dell to Clubhouse over the weekend. Mm-hmm. I jumped on. You must have saw me come on or something. You jumped into a conversation, and 4 or 5 of us had a little chit chat for a little while and played around with it. So if you haven't got your invite to Clubhouse, folks, just breathe, because my first experience was not positive. With us 5 kind of hanging out and chatting, it was. Yeah. But I gandered around. I was sitting in my living room and going to room, and lots of marketeers.
Yeah.
In this overhyped conversations about marketing and how you can make millions and how I made my first million, and blow smoke up my butt because I'm a famous person, yet I Google them and you don't even find them. And then I was in some of the podcasting rooms, and I don't know, I got some mixed feelings about some of the advice being given. And actually on Monday, I had a company call me about some advice they've gotten on Clubhouse. Someone had told in a room, don't know which. Well, I have a suspicion, but I don't want to say because it's probably pissed the person off. They probably listen to the show. In a room, they asked, should I have here's the question, because I was on the phone with a guy. He framed the question, should I have I am a business owner. I'm doing a podcast that's related to my business. Should I have my podcast on my business website? And he was told by 2 different people in that session, no, you should have a separate site. You should build your brand. They were like, no. And I'm like, what kind of advice is that? And really, in the long run of things, to me, it looked like someone was promoting.
Todd, so are you talking about hosting a podcast, or are you talking about, because I think that there's a fine line of distinction here.
He asked where he should put his podcast.
Right. We've always advised that it be hosted on a separate place.
Okay, the media.
Website,
we're not talking about hosting the media.
Right.
They're talking about having a separate site for the podcast, not with the business. That's a very bad idea.
Okay. Like only using the page that your host provider provides you. Is that what you're saying? Right. Okay.
So it doesn't matter where you host, but you should have have your content and your podcast and whatever you do in an embed or however it doesn't matter if you're using WordPress and PowerPress. Doesn't matter if you're a business owner, you have a podcast. It better be on your site. On your .com for your business, especially if it's promoting your business. And he was confused.
Right. Well, it can be a little confusing because you can get a domain name pointed to your page that's provided to you by a host.
But this wasn't. He was very explicit. He had an existing business,
existing website,
website. Going to do a show to support his business, but yet was told by two different people in a room, no, you need to have a separate page, and so it's those kinds of little. Things, and he was confused. He's like, well, what am I going to do podcast for?
Right.
So at least he was confused enough to call me and said, hey, is this advice the right advice?
Right.
And I said, who the beep, told you that? No, this is not the way to go.
Yeah, I think in those conversations you have to be very clear with people, and I'm not sure. It sounds like the conversation had a little bit too many what I would call loose ends to the discussion.
Well, I wasn't there.
That's what causes confusion.
I wasn't.
People don't know specifically what you're referring to.
But I wasn't there to hear it, so I'm secondhand. But that kind of thing is a thing that we're going to probably deal with a lot more. So here's the device I get: vet who's giving you information.
Right.
Look them up, see what they've done, because Rob and I have seen this for years and years and years.
Right.
Podcast consultants come on the scene. They're really great, and they start doing stupid things, or they should have been consultants to begin with, and then they run out of business because the ideas they gave the people that they were consulting with ends up firing them, or the shows fail or whatever, and then the consultants go away, and it's a cycle.
Right.
The good consultants stick around, and there's lots of great people doing podcast consulting. Lots of great, thousands. It's probably not thousands, but maybe 1,000. And so what this is an opportunity for the marketeers and the opportunists. Oh, I got a fresh chance. I can be the expert. And vet your experts.
That's true. And I think there is a feeling, and I had this feeling when I started getting involved in Clubhouse too, is that this is a way for me to potentially reach as many people as I would doing a live on-stage event at a podcast conference, right?
Without being vetted.
Well, yeah. You would hope, though, the people... Well, that's where the rub gets into.
That's right.
People, they don't really know who to trust.
Right.
So
unless you have a personal relationship, or there's someone there to act as the moderator, say, oh, well, because that's what we do in.
Yeah, or the person that's pulling people into this session has a reputation.
Yeah.
An expert in this, and they're only going to bring in people that they trust and things like that. And I'm not, that community is so new, and the composition of that community I'll be frank about it, it has a lot of people that have podcasts on Anchor. That was the general consensus that I had. The first session that I did, and I think we talked about this in a prior episode, had like 200 or 300 people in there, and it was just, I was there for like 3 hours just answering podcast questions. And
did you feel like you got beat up by the time you got done?
Well, it wasn't so much that because I mean, everybody is pretty respectful
Yeah,
in
yeah,
there,
yeah.
and I got invited by somebody that has a reputation for doing good stuff with
Right.
podcasters,
Right.
and so it was a good positive experience that I had initially. Though I think that the platform, we're talking about Clubhouse here, is one that's presenting a different opportunity, right? And we saw in the early days of podcasting, a
Sure.
lot of the marketeers came in,
Of course.
right? And started the consultants started flooding the space. This was back in like 2006, right?
Right.
So we've seen this. So any kind of
Again and
new
again and
medium
again. Yeah.
is seen as an opportunity for people to jump in and build audience when the cost of doing so or the difficulty of doing so is low. And that's kind of what we're seeing here. Is that I thought it as an opportunity as a guy that works for Lipson, get in there and start talking
huge.
to podcasters, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure that's how you would have seen it
Sure.
as well. And you take the good with the bad.
Yeah, that's right.
There's risks, but yet if you don't get involved, you can't contribute the positive stuff.
Right.
And then you leave it to folks that step in that maybe don't really know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So
my old curmudgeon self, though, I'm not a big fan of marketeers and. So that to me, some of the stuff, sadly, I have little patience for. It just rubs me the wrong way. And I'm kind of like, a bull in a china shop. I'm like, get your microphone, plug it into your computer, get your show information together, record your show. Let's go. Don't make 5 years of plans because you'll never turn on the mic.
Right.
And I'm hearing all these ideas. I'm like, why would you go in a public forum with 500 people and share your podcast idea? Why would you pitch your podcast in front of 500 people that hasn't launched yet?
Right.
There's no way.
Yeah. And some people are starting to record these sessions. And from what I gather, that's strictly against the terms of service for Clubhouse. So those that are thinking that they can go in there and create a podcast that then they can record and take off of the platform and publish as a podcast, they're going to get taken down.
I guess unless they explicitly announce it's being recorded.
Well, even that, it still violates the terms of service.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, I guess Clubhouse has to make a decision on this. If they're going to allow this to continue, I think it's happening in some sessions. I'm not seeing a lot that are doing it actually. So the advice that I'm giving people about it is that this isn't a replacement for producing your podcast. And I'm not sure. I know Todd Webster wrote a piece here.
I agree completely with him.
Right. It's additive, right? It's something that you do that connects with maybe some listeners. You can create a weekly session over there, but it's not a replacement for your podcast.
Right.
This is a completely different. This is almost like bonus content is what I would do.
Yeah.
And just do something that connects with your listeners. You can build community over there. You can do all that kind of stuff, but don't treat it as a replacement for your podcast.
Yep.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's that on that. And don't get too excited. And again, you guys are all, I'll call you Akamai. That's kind of a Hawaiian term. You're all Akamai here. You guys know to vet people, and you listen to this show to get your advice.
Well, and how this maps to Breaker, I think, and if you look at Twitter today, Twitter does have the ability I believe in their iOS app, where you can actually record audio directly into the app and have it publish as part of your tweet.
Yeah.
So you can do that today. They've been playing around with that for I guess a good year now. That's been in there. I don't think a lot of people have used it. I certainly haven't seen a lot of tweets that have utilized it because it is a little buried in the interface. I mean, I didn't know it was there until somebody pointed out to me that it was there. And I went in there specifically clicking on things, looking for it, right? And it seems to work fairly well. But as you think about Breaker being integrated in here, what does that mean? Does that mean that they're going to be a direct competitor to what Clubhouse is doing? It's not clear yet. I don't know that that's what they're actually going to do. But maybe it is, but maybe it's, I don't know, Todd. I mean, what's your thought? Is that something that'd be smart for Twitter to do, is to do something like Clubhouse is doing, do you think?
Well, you got to keep up with the Joneses.
Right. But can you imagine how out of control that would be from a content standpoint? I mean, if you think Clubhouse is crazy, which it is, imagine what Twitter would be. Talk about a cesspool, of stuff, right? So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out and how it maps to podcasting. May not map to podcasting.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we will.
So let's get on to the big news of the day. And man, people are already coming out in defense.
Right.
So what has happened? I have this little cool tool here, and I tried it. It's called uTorrent. Now, is it uTorrent? Yeah, uBlock. Excuse me, uBlock.
uBlock, yeah.
And I went over to, I tried to go to Megaphone. And it blocked it. They have been blocklisted by these folks that basically do ad serving, tracking, anyone that's doing any type of, it's more complicated than that, but basically they're blocking some of the media that are running on Megaphone's hosting platform.
Yeah, you can't actually play the audio.
Yeah, you can't play the audio.
Thing.
Yeah,
I mean, it's completely blocking access to the delivery DNS.
Now, if you're not running any type of ad blocker on your computer, let me be clear. If you're not it's not going to do anything. It'll play. But if you're running ad blocking software or certain browsers, which very few people are running any of these browsers. As a matter of fact, one of them I haven't ever heard of. Right. Then the media gets blocked. But this poses a bigger discussion purely about the simple fact that we may have started a time now here where companies that are doing attribution, companies that are doing ad tracking, they're going to potentially have a problem.
Well, I think it's actually good that this discussion is happening because I think a lot of the podcasting platforms have been, the hosting platforms have been trying to decide, which way they're going to go on this, right? I know I talked to the Nielsen folks at one point, and they were only doing this deal with Megaphone. So I don't know, it's been released out there that Art19 is doing something similar. And then who knows, maybe Spreaker is doing something similar with this stuff too. So it's not exactly clear, and there's not a tremendous amount of transparency about all this stuff.
Yeah.
About what's going on here. I just wonder, though, Todd, and we've wondered on this show, this isn't the first time we've talked about this topic. Do listeners care? That's the other part of this discussion.
Some do, like me.
Some do, and some don't. Some aren't even aware of it.
Right.
So maybe if people are more aware of it, maybe there will be more objection. I don't know.
But the article, this guy's not happy. He likes the platform. He likes doing ad deals. He likes serving ads, and it'd be pretty discouraging to load a show up and hit play, and there was a big red explanation mark that said, "No, you will not."
Right.
So.
And I think I saw on Facebook there was a comment in there, and I was going to pull it up here too, Todd, talking about how I guess Megaphone has put out a statement.
Yeah, they have.
And I don't know if you have that or not in front of you or not.
Let's see if I can find it here.
But we might want to talk about that too.
So we all know that even Apple, even Chrome, even Google is starting to put in technology to block ads. But okay, so here's what the statement that Megaphone says. Unfortunately, your post is not accurate, and the bullet points below lay this all out. This is only affecting browsers that have ad blocking plugin add-on installed, or a browser that is specifically designed to block ads. Brave is the browser, is one of those and mentioned in the post. We haven't seen any drop in downloads and campaign delivery due to this. The number of users who listen via browser is extremely small, less than 1% overall. That's pretty shocking because that's telling to me, because globally we still see 6 to 7% are listening via browser. And then those who listen via browser extremely low, less than 1% overall. And then those who have ad blockers installed is even smaller than this, less than 0.1%. That's probably not true. I know a lot of people run ad blockers on their browsers. If someone falls into this extremely small percentage, they won't have content delivered from Megaphone via their web browser. So it's not just isolated to MTM ads. This is not carrying over to apps, as we are not collecting any user data outside of IP address and user agent. More below, our servers do not collect demographic data. They collect only IP addresses and user agent strings like every single other server on the internet. It's a requirement to deliver across the internet. We do not send data to Nielsen. Instead, Nielsen sends the data they collect. So there's the key there. We can talk about that to us and not the other way around. Our privacy policy allows for data to be sent out of the platform. Of course, listeners never see that privacy platform. That is to enable ad campaign measurement from time to time. That data as well only includes IPNUA. We never send unique identifiers because we don't have them. We do not have access to IDFA, MATE, or similar. We have not been explicitly blocked by ad blocking privacy browser extensions. Instead, because we use the term ad server in one of our server names, it has been blocked by an automated filter. Will be corrected in this next 48 hours, which will remove the blocking. More importantly, this only impacts web-based listening when the user has a blocking extension installed. Again, we estimate this to be very small. How do they know what this percentage of listeners? 0.1%, maybe much lower. I think you might be surprised. Users with ad blockers are savvy. They know when something is blocked, and if they want to consume the content, they typically pause the blocking extension. I think I've answered everything you asked, but please let me know. So anyway, that was their response. Definitely was a catchy headline for a blog post, though. Yeah. But it's true. They are on multiple block lists for tracking podcast listeners. They are. That is a simple fact, because I went and looked.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't specifically mention Megaphone in any of those blocks, though, but it's the ad server names that they are using that is blocked.
And their links, yeah.
Yeah. And then he refers to Nielsen as actually sharing their data with them. So they're getting around that technicality.
Yeah.
Actually sharing the IP address with a third party. So Nielsen's actually.
But Nielsen is collecting
Megaphone is matching those things up.
Right.
Then, not Nielsen. Which is interesting. So it's all happening on the Megaphone side, not on the Nielsen side.
Yeah. I use uBlock. This is the application I use, and it's on this list. It turns out that people don't like being tracked, and this is from the article. And a whole suite of anti-tracking privacy tools out there. There are DNS sinkhole service like Pi-hole, NextDNS, which blocks domains that track you. There are browser plugins to block this like AdBlock Plus, uBlock Origin, Privacy Badger, and there are browsers that block this too like Brave. So
the question gets back to is, it doesn't appear that this is triggering retargeting through Nielsen.
Well,
but it could trigger retargeting through Megaphone.
It could. Well, the key is they're getting data.
Right. Well, they're matching up the information. So it could be matching up information that could be used in other podcasts, right? So I don't know. It gets into the technicalities of this, and I think we're going to lose people.
Yeah. So the link
Right.
that's being blocked is traffic.megaphone.fm.
Right.
And they go into the details here of what is happening and why.
Right.
And but here's the problem: there's other people doing this.
Yeah.
So
No.
this is not the first.
But as far as I know, Nielsen isn't sharing this type of a deal with too many other folks yet.
No.
I don't know. I mean, I've spoken to them in the past, and I know that Megaphone deal was pretty exclusive for a while. This has been going on for a while.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's moved to other platforms or not entirely.
So, if you go on Overcast, even a Blueberries show, it lists what we do and what we don't do as far as stats and stuff go. So, but definitely a challenge here is Art 19 could be up next because they want to bring listener target ads to podcasting as well. So,
well, they've been even before the COVID stuff, they were actively promoting this type of activity at conferences. So this was the future of their platform as well.
Yeah.
And, it's hard to say how much further that is going to move. There's other companies that have an interest in it. I think iHeartMedia was listed as utilizing some of this technology through this as well. So there's some connections with some of the larger players in the medium.
And we now know, of course, Megaphone's been bought by Spotify, and Spotify is only going to ramp up the tracking even more.
Right.
So, dun da da da.
I mean, just let your imagination run on, who else could wind up supporting this in the long run when you think about it. But also, let's be frank about it. Let's think about the big platforms out there: Spotify, Apple. This really can reach into the listening platforms too. Are those platforms that are enabling listening, and they get user accounts? They can have the ability to opt in.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They can be doing this stuff too on their own platforms. So that's where we kind of get into this gray area of the discussion around, are users going to care in the long run? I know Apple has clearly put the stake in the ground here that they're not going to do this.
Yeah. Now here's
but I'm not sure that others have yet.
But here's a key thing from and this is the author of this article is actually a podcaster.
Right.
He says, I spoke with Megaphone's customer service to tell them about this issue. They seem to be aware of it, but told me they have no intention of retiring MTM. That's the thing that's causing the blocking. And so my question to Megaphone is, when will you consider retiring MTM? Megaphone is already on 7 block lists, explicitly on 6. What if you get on all block lists? We consider it then. What if podcast players decide to add these block lists? Ooh. Or what if certain countries start using these block lists at their borders and now you see a widespread complaint from listeners? What if your own customers, the podcasters themselves, complain to you enough that they don't appreciate how their shows are suffering because of this? At what point do you consider that MTM is not good for listener or podcasters and reformat how it works?
Well, I think it's a debate, really, what the value of it is. I've yet to see really compelling evidence that the ROI on targeting is really that much different.
He says, I'm not the only one who feels this is a bad idea. You saw the New York Times article above, and there's a New York Times article above from the founder of DuckDuckGo. You saw how Rework podcasts switch away from Art 19 once they found out Art 19 was doing this. And you now see how block lists are adding you. Is this enough outcry that you're doing what you're doing is wrong, or do you still need more people telling you? No other podcast hosting provider is showing up on block lists at this time. Megaphone, you're making history here, but is this the history you want to be making?
Right.
So, block lists are pretty. You can get on a block list for other reasons too. There's other block lists out there,
and it's hard to get off of them once you get on them.
And
that's the thing.
It's one of the reasons why we have no hyperlinks on any of our directory listings at blueberry.com.
Right.
Because it just takes one bad hyperlink out to a malware site to get your whole site blacklisted. And it doesn't come from, it comes from Google.
Mm-hmm.
They can still get to you by typing in directly, but you're not going to be found in search or anything like that.
Right.
So,
yeah. So where do we go from here, Todd, on this? It's something that the industry is going to have, each player is going to have to make their decision here, where they stand. I think we both know, and everybody listening to this knows where Lipson stands on this. We've been very clear about it. We're not going down this path.
Yeah, Blueberry's not going down this path either.
Anytime soon, unless there's some more clarity on the process and that everybody's going to be okay with it. And there isn't going to be things like this that happen, right? Where people get upset. So we're just not going to go there because, we're just not convinced that the benefit's worth the technical hassle.
Is it worth another $1 or $2 CPM?
Right.
Is that what you're going to get? But, let's be quite frank. The advertisers are the ones that are starting requiring some of this stuff.
Well, it gets back to, and I
my Red Bull's getting warm. How's that?
Well, I went through this to some degree, as you come out of the radio industry tended to think that the advertisers were their real customers, right? Mm-hmm. So, and the advertisers had a lot of, say in this stuff, right? They put on a lot of pressure on the radio industry to do a lot of these kinds of things. And I believe that's a little bit of what's behind this too. Is that the buyers want this data. They want to be able to do this. And the industry is trying to cater to that, right?
Yep.
So as a competitive advantage.
So I have a new coworker here at the office, Rob.
You do?
I
Congratulations.
do. Yep. His name is Boss.
Oh, it's a four-legged employee?
Yep, four-legged employee. He hasn't quite got used to the place yet. He's kind of hiding out, but Boss is hiding, and he set off the alarm system last night at 11:30 p.m. By his movements, he decided to jump on a counter, and the motion detector decided he was an intruder, and I got the police here, and really? So I saw him from of course phone was on do not disturb. And I didn't have that phone number whitelisted, and because I didn't answer and say, my four-legged furry cat in here set the alarm off, the police came and rattled the doors and looked in with their flashlights. And so meanwhile, he was hiding in the closet. So today he goes into a room. He's not going to have free roaming tonight. Tonight is he's going to be locked in the kitchen. So Boss is around here somewhere. If he doesn't get more friendly, he may not be Boss for long.
Right. That's funny, Todd.
What it actually was is we had a cat that was at the house that is pretty antisocial with other cats. And so we decided to, put him in probation over here for a while, see how he does.
Right. Hey, Todd, did you see this little Twitter post that James put in his newsletter about a guy who created a little short video that's playing over and over again on Twitter? Basically, his name is Jonathan Ogden, and he's out of the UK, and he created this video podcast saying literally nothing for 20 minutes is what he created, and he created this back and forth dialogue with him basically setting up his conversation, saying, how important this conversation is and how we should have it every week. And with the goal, and this is similar to what we talked about last week, is, people objecting to not getting to the point, right? Not getting to the content while he's making fun of it. And it's had 7.8 million views.
Really?
So right. And it's only 1 minute long, but it's him back and forth talking to himself, basically saying nothing.
I'm looking for the tweet. You'll have to send me the link. That I thought I saw something about it, but didn't pay any attention to it.
It's on the newsletter from let's see, what's the date? From today. So just below the classified box in the Pod News newsletter.
Yeah.
There is a link to, this is great. Podcasts saying literally nothing for 20 minutes. It's fine to and de-er, but removing any and all phrases in this video too would make for a better show.
I'm looking for it here. I haven't found it yet.
Welsh language. It's below Will Clubhouse Kill Podcasting.
Oh, okay. All right, let me click on this.
You can probably pull it up and play it.
Is this?
If you want to?
Is this guy actually saying anything?
No.
Okay.
Well, that's the whole point. He's not saying anything. He's just bantering back and forth, setting up his conversation.
Okay, so
for 1 minute.
And I don't have this wired in.
Oh, you don't?
No.
So that's what I think. Yeah, that's so true. I'm really glad you brought that up. I think this is really important. And if I can just speak about this for a minute, because I've really been thinking about this quite a lot. And here's the thing, right? When it all comes down to it, and we really begin to understand, this is what I think, but this is why we have you on. It's my opinion. It's so my friend works at the New York Times, right? Oh, nice. Yeah. And so this is what I think. There's a lot of conversation and there's a lot of dialogue around the subject without really dissecting and understanding the subject. And I think what we really need.
So there's just a lot of back and forth. I mean, he's flashing different.
Now check that out.
Yeah, it's him playing on two sides. The ums are the same dude.
More conversation around.
Right, and I think what the point is that I think there's a feeling out there that people spend too much time talking about setting up what they're talking about versus
talking about it,
getting to the point. Right.
Well, that's what a podcast is all about: is setting it up.
It's part of storytelling, Todd. Right.
I throw abstract stuff in.
Set the drama of it all before you can actually communicate anything of value.
I said abstract stuff in this show. The next show I'll be talking about how this cat has scratched the piss out of me. That's probably what I'll be talking about.
Yeah.
So. Oh my gosh.
But I get his point, and the fact that it's been watched by almost 8 million people is
pretty impressive.
It's impressive. Maybe there's a point to this. I don't know.
18.18K quotes. Oh.
Yeah.
This is brilliant. This is actually just what so-and-so said. There's way too much of this beep out there. So important. This is how some of you all be sounding on Clubhouse. It's true. It is true. Worst thing is when I'm not paying attention and rewind all for nothing. I did that today for a show. Yes, it's literally set off my fight or flight. Oh, the responses are hilarious. They really are. This is so important. It really is. It's almost like the banter back and forth. This is golden. Spot on. This is why I don't listen to podcasts. See, the Twitter stream is you could almost replicate what he just said by just reading the retweets. Oh my gosh.
Right.
Wow, 7.8 million. I'm impressed. This guy knocked it out of the ballpark. I'm going to have to follow him just because.
Well, he definitely tapped into something that maybe is true.
Yeah, I think so. And this guy, how many followers does he have? Let me look. Okay. Oh, he's got 11.1K followers. I bet he's picked up a few people. Mm-hmm. Wow. If we could get 7.8, someone please find something we've said and get us 7.8 million views on Twitter. That would be fantastic. It
well,
really.
If only we could have a conversation here that actually had a lot of value, right?
Yeah.
And that we could get enough people actually watching the valuable stuff versus watching the repeat of a bunch of invaluable stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Huh.
That seems to be more popular than actually talking about something of value and substance, right?
Oh my gosh.
Right.
And I think we've kind of killed the megaphone thing here, but it's as a business owner, you know what happened over there today. They were like, and I just hear that F word coming out of a number of people's mouths, and then like, we need to have a meeting. Attention, all hands to the boardroom, briefing room. Have an emergency conflict mission.
Right. Calling the PR team.
Yeah. Come on, let's get a response out there.
Right.
We're under attack. Yeah, everyone's had one of those.
So Todd, officially as of today, I am no longer the chairman or the chairperson of the Podcast Academy.
You got fired?
We had a re-election or a new election of board officers.
That's what they call it.
Yeah.
Okay. So can you say who is the new president or leader of the board?
Well, it's Alex Albright, who was the vice chairman, has now
has
been
moved
appointed the chairmanship.
And any other rearrangements of the tables?
There's a little bit, but it's mainly the four officers. Is I think it's all new. Yeah.
So you now are just plain old member then, or whatever. You're still
I'm a board of governor.
Okay.
I'm going to be on the membership committee as well as the awards committee.
So, you feel a weight off your shoulders?
Yes, I feel much more free now.
And probably free up some of your time.
Yeah, I mean, being the chair of that organization put me in the middle of a lot of stuff for a while. So yeah.
Well, they've got
happy with that.
They've got a lot to do.
They do.
They have a lot to do.
It's coming along though. I think we had about 1,100 submissions for nominations.
That brought in some money.
Yep, it did.
Yeah. Wow.
It did. Plus
1,100.
Yeah, and we added.
How much did you guys charge for registration?
What's that?
How much was the cost to register for the awards? How much was it? $200?
No, well, it depends if you're a member. If you're a member, it was $175. If you were a member, it was $100.
I need to raise the price for the podcast awards, don't I? My God, 1,100 at $175.
Not all of them were.
I know.
175. I mean, somewhere at 100.
Right, but still, that's that's a full-time job.
Well, it costs money to do the stuff that we're trying to do. So as you know.
I know, but it's amazing that you had that big of a response. My God, that's big. Yeah. If I could get 1,000 people to come in at $25 for the podcast awards, that would be big.
Yeah.
Wow. Huh.
So it's going to be interesting, and
I didn't apply for anything.
3 new board members today. So.
Oh, who were they?
Well, I'm probably going to leave that up to the Academy to announce that. So
okay.
I'm not going to say who those folks are yet.
Are they indies or are they industry?
Yeah, one is from a big company that we all know, and then the other 2 are podcasters.
Oh, okay, good.
So
how many of you listen to the show here have signed up for the Podcast Academy? We'd love to hear from you if you have. So I've done 1 mentorship meeting. That's my contribution so far.
Okay.
So I don't know how often we're supposed to meet with the people we're mentoring, but
I think the rule of thumb is like every couple months or something like that for maybe 2 to 3 sessions, and that's
I'm overdue then, I guess.
As you want, right?
Yeah, I'm overdue.
Yeah, I need to do another meeting with the person I'm mentoring with. Yeah.
Huh. Well, interesting what's going on at the Podcast Academy. So they got some money for their award ceremony then.
Mm-hmm. And we're going to be looking for sponsors of the event as well as we take it out.
You guys just made $150,000. How much more money do you need?
Well, if we're going to drive a lot of listener attention to this, it's going to take, we're hiring like a media PR company.
Wow.
And other stuff to, the podcast movement folks are putting on the event for us. And so, yeah.
So the award ceremony will be at Podcast Movement?
No, they're actually helping produce the
see.
awards.
I got you.
It's going to be on a live stage in Los Angeles.
Speaking of which, what is going on with the Podcast Hall of Fame? Have we heard anything new?
Not recently, but my conversations that I've had with Dan is that it's going to come back in Nashville.
Okay.
Next year.
All right.
Or this year.
This year.
So, and sponsorship support is key to that. So
well, unless we get all locked down for the next year.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know about that. I think it's still too early to know what's going to happen on that side, right?
Yep.
But I am itching to get back out there.
I'm
people again.
Beyond ready.
Love that.
Yeah. It's time.
Yeah.
It's time to get the word out and start.
Well, yeah, and I wonder how things, as we come out of this, how things are going to change on that front, because you think about how many more new podcasters there are out there and how many more new podcast companies are out there.
Yeah.
I mean, just look in LinkedIn, and it's just amazing how many people are putting podcasts in their LinkedIn titles now. I've never seen that before, how many people are involved in the medium in some capacity.
Yeah.
And how that could impact like a podcast movement event. Maybe as you look to the future or the next couple of years, we'll see, 10,000 people at a podcasting event.
I wouldn't doubt it.
It's not inconceivable.
I think the thing that I have been staying out of Facebook groups purposely for a while. I took a break. Mm-hmm. And there is it's just impossible to keep up. It's just, you see the same question asked 25 times a day in some forums, and you could have a full-time job just cut and pasting responses that are canned into Facebook groups, specifically podcast groups. That was part of the thing I was going to talk about today, or I wanted to talk about today, is that you are not, and it's gotten much, much worse. You do not have new podcasters doing very much research at all. They're not doing any homework. They're just jumping in, and then the thing that triggered me probably the most, and I'm now starting to become quite happy using that word, being triggered, was a gal said, quite innocently, she said, hey, I'm on Anchor and I'm on Spotify. What else do I need to, I'm good. I'm set. And is there any other places I should be? Quite innocently asking that. And of course, everyone jumped on, and there was 82 responses in that thread. You need to be on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, da 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 da. But I ran some numbers today, and our Spotify numbers are still under 10%.
Mm-hmm.
Under 10%. Matter of fact, under 5% globally for every. Of course, now there's a little skewed because I don't have insight to all Spotify data, because some people that use our redirect submitted to their host, who submitted a specific RSS feed that didn't include our redirect. So I don't have a complete insights into Spotify across all our shows that use our stats, just because of the way Spotify rolled out their initial stats or initial implementation of how you would submit over there. But it's still, to me, it just doesn't. If I go look at individual shows, I don't see that big. But some shows are seeing great success. But I don't know. I think it's a little overhyped. They're getting numbers, but in the scheme of things overall, yeah, they're adding audience, but that monster of an audience that's available is still, much, much bigger.
Right.
In Google Podcast, man, they're rocking it. I think they were up to, in December, like 7% or something. They're coming on like a freight train. Right. So, those of you that have not been talking about Google Podcasts very much in your show, that they're at an audience and quickly.
Well, you saw the announcement that they added subscription
right.
capability in the browser now. So
right. In the browser.
Yeah. That's interesting.
But we're seeing a lot of Chrome. This was it's on the other computer. What if I can get to it? No, I know where to
do it. Yeah, or
is
it in the app too? It must be in the app too.
Let's see here. Yeah, so let me load the document because I provided some information to IAB.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, so for us, if we look purely in December, for Apple Podcast, 53.2%. Podcast Addict, 6.7%. Google Podcast for Android, 6.3%. And get this, Chrome Desktop, which more than likely is Google Podcast on Chrome, 3.9%. Overcast, 3.3%. Stitcher Radio 2.4. Hard to believe the iTunes application is still in there, 2.0%. Castbox has jumped up 2.0%. Pocket Cast 1.93. You notice I haven't said Spotify yet?
Yeah.
Actually, I've got Spotify for Android, Spotify for iOS is an addition. It's an additive number. Okay, so it would have been much higher if I'd have added them together, but I broke them up by. And, but still Firefox, Stitcher Radio for iOS, iPad, Apple Podcast and Player, so different. Antenna Pod, Alexa, 0.5%. That's right. The first major increase I've seen in Alexa in a while. 0.51. So, but again, it shows me that at least for that's about 65,000 shows. That there's a couple of browser entries in there, which blew me away. So maybe grand total on browser in the top 25 was about about 4%. So let me go all the way to the bottom. 3 downloads on the Views BitTorrent client, 8 downloads on PlayStation Portable, 8 downloads on Doppler. Winamp for Android had 32. Oh, here's one. Did you know AOL still had a browser?
Wow. Somebody's still using the AOL browser.
40 downloads.
Wow.
This is 40 downloads of millions. Here's the percentage. It was AOL Explorer 0.0000000 06 or something.
So somebody out there didn't ever upgrade their Windows 95 machine.
Oh my God! Yeah, Google TV 88, 88 downloads.
Right.
Oh my gosh! PlayStation. Oh, there's Netscape. There's a number 900.
Wow. I didn't even know Netscape would even run on a modern operating system.
Probably isn't a modern operating system. Somebody that's got an old machine. 124 different clients is what I tracked in December. Oh, iHeart. How are they doing? Oh, let me go ahead and look at how iHeart's doing here. Let's see here. ABC. Oh, I had to. iHeart 0.17. Oh, player. How much money have you spent? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
But I am hearing too that well, let's just put it this way. I think there's going to be some new news coming. Big news.
Big news.
Big news. Yeah, big news coming.
From what part of the industry?
I'll just say there's a big news coming. I'm not going to say any more.
There's big news coming, yes. I do know of one big news that's coming.
Oh, you do?
Sure.
You can't say either.
No, I can't say either.
Big news.
Big news.
And not even going to imply what kind of big news, but it's big news.
Well, hopefully that big news will drive more listeners to podcasting. So, hopefully. So, Todd, did you see the article?
Oh, it's not that big news.
Evo Terra wrote on his podcast pontifications.
I listened about the first 2 minutes of that. I got distracted and couldn't listen to the whole thing. But go ahead and give us the Reader's Digest version.
Well, he actually wrote an article too. So his one part of this article is podcasting's throne caught in the crossfire. So his contention is lots of big powerhouse companies are battling it out right now. Spotify, Amazon, Pandora, iHeart, Google Podcasts. You start running through the list of all these big tech companies, and his point is that he does think that Apple is going to get some competition here, which appears to be growing, more or less depending on the hosting platform that you ask. If you look at Buzzsprout's getting 25% of their downloads out of Spotify. Well, you look at Libsyn, we're getting about 9%. Look at you're getting what, about 9%, right?
Lower than 5%.
Yeah. So more or less, these platforms are competing with each other and more or less success. And his contention is that Apple is going to lose some market share over time because of this. And that may be true. But his general consensus is that, and I tend to agree with this, that there will be no single dominant player in podcasting. And it depends on what you classify as a dominant player. I guess Apple would be the closest thing that I could think of on that side. I think it's going to be a while before Apple loses that crown, to be quite honest with you.
Oh, if
they ever lose. I don't know. I think it's up in the air right now, right?
Yeah, considering at least in my measurement, the closest player is Podcast Addict. At least in my side, it's coming in at 6.7%. And where
Spotify's not even up to that level.
No, but again, my numbers are a little bit hazy on Spotify because we don't have insight to all shows because of the way they were submitted to Spotify originally.
Right. Got it.
So I have a segment of shows I don't have an insight to, even though they're using our stats. So it offsets the percentage. So it's probably 9%.
Yeah,
I
can see your platform being fairly.
Yeah, so we have an offset, because there's just a couple platforms that people use that I don't have insights to those stats because of the way it was submitted, because the redirect didn't get on their submission.
Right.
So,
and I think that the platforms that have acquired the most new podcasters over the last 6 months probably have a stronger presence in.
Yeah.
I mean, some of these other platforms,
but they have
most of those new shows came up in an era when people really focused on that. And a lot of younger people got into podcasting, creating podcasts, and we have a lot of Libsyn, and you have a lot of legacy shows that are around a long time, right? And have built their audiences over on Apple. So in some ways, it's not surprising to some degree. So, his Evo's contention is that eventually there won't be one single dominant player in podcasting, which he's assuming that Apple's going to lose market share over time to all these big platforms like Pandora and Amazon and iHeart and Google Podcasts, though I would say iHeart is not going to be capturing top spot anytime soon on the consumption side. But certainly for their original shows, they've been able to capture some audience. But
Harold, I could go, Harold asked, compare what were Apple's podcast numbers this time last year. How much market share have they lost? Well, we made a contention. Apple's actually picked some market share back up. For a while, Apple was below 50% for us. We had predicted like 2 years ago they would go below 50, and
that hasn't happened.
It was right there, teeter totter. Right. But then they have actually picked up market share because the awareness of podcasting has continued to increase, and everyone has the Apple Podcast app right on their phone.
Well, I think what you're really saying, and maybe being more clear here, is that all these platforms are growing.
Right, they're growing. Oh, I look at
in total downloads.
Yep.
Right, and subscriptions and all that stuff. Apple's continuing to grow, and that would happen even if they were losing market share.
Right.
So it's as the whole industry rises, everybody gets bigger. Right.
5 years ago, I could process all of our podcast statistics for the day in about 2 hours. That's what it took to process. Now, it's 12 hours of processing time to do 24 hours worth of data, having even added a lot more capacity and a lot more machines. So it's taken me really an incredibly much longer time to process because the volume is just way up.
Yeah.
Where before I may have been measuring 100 million downloads a month, and now it's, I'm not going to say exact number, but let's say it's 800 million downloads a month. That's the scale. So and not a tripling or quadrupling or 5 times the number of shows either, because shows die on all platforms and new shows come on, but just the volume is much, much higher now.
Yeah. Though I think over time we could see, I think specifically probably Google Podcasts, I kind of see them as the one that could have the most.
Oh, they're going to have the most
share growth.
Oh,
in the shortest amount of time.
They have grown. I bet you I can go back to the beginning of the year and they were at 2.5%, maybe 3, and they've doubled. To double in market share in this space, in a year,
yeah, that's fast growth.
It's fast growth. It's rocket ship growth.
So I look at Google Podcasts as the biggest growth opportunity.
Yeah, I think so too.
There is another player that's coming, but I don't know. If they could be bigger than Google, I don't know.
Not in year 1, maybe year 2.
Right.
And we have to be. We're on. Both of us are on NDAs, so.
Right. So, it's good news.
Yeah, it's good news. It is. It's all, it's all, there's a lot more shows coming online, but there's an equally number of shows that are failing that are coming online. They talk about someone saying they got they had 800,000 shows added to their platform. Well, 600,000 of them are dead already. So,
hey Todd, I haven't heard anybody report any data. I don't know if there's user agents around Audible. Have you seen anything in your data around Audible?
Oh, let me look here.
Because that was the other platform that is kind of new to the medium somewhat, that I kind of wonder about their potential impact. But I do know that a lot of Audible users are big into audiobooks, not so much into podcasts, though there's a lot of crossover there, obviously, for obvious reasons. It's just, are people going to listen to podcasts versus audiobooks? I don't know.
I see some insight into them. It's early days.
Oh, it is clearly early days, yeah.
Early days.
Yeah.
For sure. They're down around, if I look between, they're under 1%. I'll put it that way.
And that was a big move that Amazon did in acquiring Wondery. So that, and it appears that, Hernan Lopez is going to stay CEO of the company for some period of time, and he's going to stay involved in the Ambi awards too. He's kind of leading that. So that's not going to change anything on that side. I guess he's going to be CEO until it closes.
Well, I will say this, but I will say this about Amazon though. I got an email from them today. They're not sitting still. They've got some stuff coming.
Yeah.
I haven't reviewed I knew what the topic was going to be, but I got to review the agreement. And, but yeah, I think
they're going to take a place in the promotion side of podcasting, help drive, awareness.
But
so I think it could be of help.
But if they get to 1%, because podcasters, it's not yet a natural place for podcasters to promote, to go listen
Amazon?
Right, to go listen on Amazon Music or to go listen on Audible. That's not a natural thing podcasters themselves are saying to do to promote. And I think Amazon recognizes that and wants podcasters to start promoting being able to listen on Amazon Music.
Well, if you think about what they've done, they've got podcasts now on Alexa. They have, and then they have Audible. They have Amazon Music.
Right.
Podcasts. So they kind of have 3 consumption platforms in one. And just the small thing of going into Amazon.com and searching for your podcast.
Yeah.
Just a small thing like that, which I know a lot of people are definitely involved in Amazon.com these days.
So let me see if I can find the listing. New media show Audible. That didn't come up with anything. Let's see here. New media show Amazon. Let's see. There it is. Oh, no. That's somebody's book. Maybe I'm going to have to go to Amazon. I thought I could find it before for a search result, but because I found it actually in the Amazon store of all places.
Yeah, I thought so too. So you go to...
Yeah, I'm just on Amazon now.
Amazon.com shopping and then type in the
new
media show.
It was there before. That's very, very weird. Maybe let's try my other one.
Okay, I just typed in new media show. It didn't come up.
So it's odd because there's Geek News Central when I type. That's right on Amazon, So I found it there. I bet I know what I'd have to do. New media show. I bet you if I put audio.
Or podcast.
Oh, that's weird. We're going to have to go investigate that, Rob. We're not being found.
Well, is anybody being found over there?
Yeah, my show was. You can't see it, but I did Geek News Central, and it came right up. Came right up on Amazon.com, and it's basically Audible costs $0.00, and Amazon Music it costs $0.00. And listen now. And so, but I don't know why I can't find New Media Show.
Yeah. Yeah, and I
Oh,
went
there it
into
is.
the area.
There it is. There it is. Okay, for some reason, just wasn't in the right place. All right, I found it.
So where did you have to go?
Audible Books and Originals.
Audible books. Audible. Oh, Audible.
Books and but I was on the Amazon website.
Right. Okay. So it's under Audible Books and Originals is what you have to search for. Search under that category.
Well, originally when I came on the just the pure Amazon site, I found it right. I found my other show right on Amazon.com. I found Geek News Central underneath Amazon.com, but I didn't find the New Media Show. So let me try this again.
I think it's interesting, Todd, that they have in our listing that comes up in the search results. It's basically an Audible branded page.
Right.
In the sub area. So this is obviously a framed pull off of the Audible side of things.
Yeah.
Into the Amazon,
So Rob,
bigger,
so try this experiment.
right.
Let me go to Amazon.com and type in your name. Just go to top of Amazon.com and type in your name. I'll type in my name.
All departments.
So let's look here. So I found my book and I found the two podcasts. So I found, hey, folks, you can still get Podcasting to Do It Yourself guide for $23. There's only one left in stock, so make sure you order soon.
So it is searching the subtitle.
Yes, it is.
Of the show.
Yeah, yep, it is. So you can find it by your author name.
But why wouldn't it come up?
It's a good
title.
That's a very good question. I don't know why. New Media Show is not coming up by title. Geek News Central is. So.
Yeah. So the subtitle is taking higher priority than the main title.
Yeah, I'm doing a little trickery here. So I'm going to search for a part of our description.
So it says, well, the number one thing that shows up is it looks like a TV show called The Show.
Oh.
So let's type in The Media Show. It still doesn't come up.
Yeah. Comes up with our names, but not direct search. So who knows? But again, you can click Audible or Amazon Music. You can share. And there is a listing, but it's mostly indexed under Audible. So,
though, if you put New Media Show into the all search area,
yeah,
and put parentheses around the word New Media Show,
no one
it comes up in the number one position.
Yeah, no one searches like that though.
I know. Well, I mean, it's a little tip for Google too.
Yeah.
So if you want to have a more refined search based on the specific keyword phrase that you enter in there, just put parentheses around it.
So it is kind of, if nothing else, you're like, hey, see, I'm listed on Amazon. You can buy my show on Amazon. Oh, yep, I did that. Oh, that's interesting.
It's a little bit of a hack in there.
A little hack, but I wonder why.
Algorithm.
I wonder why we're not ranking well natively. All right,
Probably
someone write
for this reason right here, Todd.
Someone write a book. Someone write a book on search on Amazon hacks. I'm scrolling through and see if it's buried down in the. Let's go to page 2. It's not on page 2 either. Yeah. I don't know.
So Todd, they've got it all set up here where we can start charging for people to listen to our show.
I don't think so.
Well, they have our listing here as Audible. You click on the Audible tab,
0.
and it's got a little dollar sign.
You know why? You know why that's there? It's because they shoehorned us into an existing system.
Right. But it does kind of communicate that there's the potential. It says, it also says enjoy free music from Amazon. No subscription required. And it's just interesting that they have that there.
Let me see if they are up to date here. What was that? Yeah, so they're up to date at least with the listings.
Yeah. That's good. So when you click on listening, though, you have to.
They want you to go to. Yeah, they want you. I'm logged in Amazon, but they want you to go to Audible. Listen with Audible. Oh,
no,
hey everyone, welcome to.
Well, you have the choice of clicking between Amazon Music and Audible, so you can go in either way.
Oh, that's. Oh, yeah. When you want, then they want you to sign in there.
Right. So I just signed in and I got into Amazon Music.
Yeah.
And I can listen there, but it doesn't. Wait. It's not listing all the episodes. Oh, no, that's just to that episode.
Yeah, it's just what's in the RSS feed.
Right.
Yeah. Now, you can tell Alexa to play I think you can. I think you have to tell Alexa, play the podcast. Oh, see, I just triggered a bunch of people. Sorry.
Yeah, I know. I did the same thing earlier.
So I think all you have to do is tell ALXEAA to play the podcast, the new media show, and it will. Should play the latest episode.
Yeah. So
you want to get some. You want to do promotion. You want to do promotion for another show. Just do that in your own show. But people are going to be. I have a Google Home. My Sony TV at the house. It gets triggered a lot. Google Home loses its mind. They'll say something close to Google, and my TV will pause. It pisses me off. I have to push the back button or wait 5 seconds for it to let the TV to continue. It triggers itself all the time. It's very annoying.
Hey Todd, did you know that there is a platform out there that's called Pod TV Network?
Well, I'm not surprised.
Actually, I'm going to be doing a call with them. I want to learn more about what this guy's doing. But
so is he?
I guess he's got an OTT platform that he's taking what it appears to be is kind of like more like YouTube videos that are of podcasts, right? Podcast recordings like what we're doing here,
right?
And he's putting it out off of it's called Pod Network on podtv.com.
I don't know if we'll qualify. I see Kanye here. Who else do I see? I see celebrities.
Right.
Vlogs.
Yep.
Interesting. Not a
So
lot. Not a lot of content.
But yeah.
Oh, they've got something called Masterminds. Oh, please.
Right.
It looks like mostly. Oh, that's interesting. Network originals.
It's just another example of the blending
Yeah.
that's going on between video and audio
Yeah.
in the podcasting space as it continues, right?
Yeah.
And then as we see the social audio platforms starting to pop up now, it's just interesting. I guess the innovation continues, Todd, right? And
It's all about getting the content, getting it organized.
right.
Rick says you have to add the word podcast when you search just on Google. So I thought I had done that once, Rick, and didn't get anything.
Yeah. You have to do that on Google, right?
Oh.
So new media show.
Oh, on Google.
Right, on on Google. So you put in the word podcast after you search for that, and then it filters it down.
Well,
though I think doing it without it gets to it too.
Yeah, because we're ranked really good, so
right.
You don't have
Either way actually works.
Yeah, you don't have to do that because I do New Media Show. I get the same results. Matter of fact, a little better results.
So it doesn't link you to subscribe in the podcast app though for Google.
Not sure what's going on there.
It doesn't link to it. It's got it's got episodes. You can click on episodes and it takes you to Google Podcasts to play one of the episodes.
Right. My screen capture thing is not catching up right now, so I can't show it on the screen easily. But one thing I do like about the Google Podcasts is they format stuff pretty good. They keep your HTML formatting, and they also have the hyperlinks. That stuff remains. Other places strip that information, and they've done a real good job with not stripping stuff.
It does appear that when you do a search query and it pulls up a page, right, and it lists your podcast, and then right below right below the top listing for your podcast, it has a section called podcasts, and it lists the last 3 episodes, right?
Yeah.
And you go into one of those boxes and you click the little play button.
Sure.
It actually doesn't start playing.
Really?
It redirects you over to the page, so you actually have to push the play button twice.
It's a fake dealio.
Hey everyone, welcome.
Right.
Yeah. Now, if they wanted to really, well, and I understand why they're doing this. They're not trying to inflate download numbers. If they worked really well, would play right on that page.
But it is kind of giving a mixed message there. It's like click here to play. People may have the expectation. It's all about delivering the expectation, right?
Right.
Maybe they shouldn't have a play button there at all.
Rick was saying in ALEXA, you have to say, play the latest episode of the New Media Show podcast. It won't play it with on your ALEXA device. What are you using Spotify? Are you using Amazon? Or what are you using as your tune in? What are you using as your player? Rick, that's because you can select now which service you want to use. Rob, you still there?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you froze for a second.
No, I was just sitting still.
Okay. I was going to go look at my Alexa app and see what I have as default on mine, because I'll be honest with you, I don't play podcast too much on ALEXA. But there's a place you can set that. I got my phone set in airplane mode, so if someone calls me, you don't get put on a different screen. But
So Todd, that's a good question. What would cause more people to use ALEX?
What having podcasters educate
more to podcasts?
Have podcasters educate their audience on how to listen to their specific show on those devices. We have to train the listeners.
Right.
I used to do that every episode. I don't do it anymore. But I used to tell them the exact words they needed to subscribe to GNC. And it would work for Google Home, ALEXA, Apple Home, something, whatever that.
I don't think you have to be that specific anymore. I know I've got one, and I just say play such and such podcast, and it starts playing it. So I don't know.
Rick says he's got Amazon Music Podcast and TuneIn. So yeah. Mike says, I call it Amazon Talking Tube on my show. Rick says, I listen to a lot of podcasts on ALEXA. We need to have a new code word for these devices, so we don't have to keep spelling it out like idiots.
Well, you can just say Amazon smart speaker. That's
right,
what I've done over the years.
Yeah.
But more and more, that platform is becoming more than just a smart speaker. It's
No, you can't let when the grandkids get back, Rob, you can't let them close to it because they can order stuff through the device. They can actually order, general stuff that you buy all the time. You can order on the device. I know a lot of people that do that. I'm just a little bit. I want to see it on the screen.
Yeah, I do too. I want to be able to see the price too.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it'll tell you the price before you buy it, but I know some people like order toilet paper or something like that through their smart speaker, but I don't know. That's probably a tough choice these days, right, Todd? Buying toilet paper through your smart speaker. It can be expensive. Speaking about talking about things that aren't relevant, right?
Yep. So luckily, you're saved by the bell. We are right at 4:30.
Oh, that's true.
And so anyway, we're gonna get out of here, and we are getting some email back on the show. So far, it's 100% of the folks say stay with 2 shows a week. So we'll continue to see where this leads. But anyway, everyone else, thank you so much for being here. I'm Todd at blueberry.com. At Geek News on Twitter. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yes, I'm on Twitter as well, at Rob Greenlee, with 2 E's. And I also have a website, robgreenlee.com. Certainly welcome to send me an email, robg@libsyn.com, and would love to hear from you.
Yep. All right, everyone. Thanks for being here on the New Media Show. We'll see you back here on Saturday at 12 o'clock Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. Feel free to join us. If you got some things we want us to talk about, let us know. Everyone take care. We'll see you next time here.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.